Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Masnack talking to you about reciprocity.com. And in this particular video, I wanted to talk about analysis of variance and just think about heterogeneity in science. So this is part of my Nerd Out Wednesday series. I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship. And I think it's really important to understand variance and to think about what we actually try to do in science. So I'm going to really get into, what exactly is variance, and then, just have a couple of thoughts on it. So in science, what we try to do is we try to explain anomalies. Things that are different, right? So we try to explain how many things or whatever is different from what we'd expect to see. And this, in sort of a mathematical term, is called variance, right? So in my field, in strategy, what we like to do is we try to look to see at how the performance of particular companies, and performance is some sort of financial performance usually, how it differs from others, right? And so why is it that some firms do better than others financially? And we spend a great deal of time, in fact, probably the most of the field tries to understand that particular question, why things are different, or why are some firms better than others, or worse than others, right? So there's lots of sort of interesting questions that could come from that. What is there certain sort of capabilities that some firms have that lead them to go to one particular direction? Is there some sort of luck involved that is driving that sort of variance over time? Does the variance, the differences amongst firms, does that differ, sort of fluctuate over time? And really what we're trying to explain, or what this is really just the variance, right? So what is the variance? Variance is, in kind of a roundabout way, it is, or I guess in this way, it is how far on average do the objects of study, or whatever you're looking at, differs from the central tendency of what most firms will do. So on average, you'd want to try to find out what the average sort of central tendency. So what is the most likely occurrence of a particular thing happening, and then we look to see at how they differ, or how sort of the thing that you're studying differs from that sort of central tendency over time. And so variance is really incredibly important to understand. Most of our statistical methods, that's what they're based on. So regression, for example, we really are looking at some sort of variance over time. We're trying to minimize the variance that we can. So of all the possible observations that we have, we try to minimize, or try to find the best fitting sort of explanation for this particular variance. And we're trying to explain, when we do this, we're trying to explain as much variance in that particular sample as much as possible. The other thing that we're trying to do is, a critical component to this is also trying to explain, how much of this particular variance can we actually explain with whatever we're looking at, right? So we are looking at, the moments. So what we try to do is we try to capture as much variance as we possibly can explain with some sort of scientific explanation, and then after that we can sort of move on to something else and explain the rest of the variance as we keep going, right? So we're constantly kind of chunking off as much as possible explanations for the world around us. We're trying to explain as much of this variance around the sort of differences around us, right? So that's the goal, is to kind of continuously push and explain more things and explain sort of more phenomenons over time. So this is why it's really important to understand variance and understand sort of differences, heterogeneity, what's called heterogeneity in sort of a scientific term, amongst the things that you're trying to study. So that's all I wanted to say today. I wanted this to be fairly quick. But take care. Have a wonderful day. Oh, and by the way, if you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.